competitive dynamics of the race for superintelligence, both by companies and nation states, when we don't actually have the basis of understanding of how the brain works, there's sort of like a disconnect where they're traversing through the dark and kind of like trying to figure it out faster than we've done the fundamental science itself and hoping for the best.
So, for example, we can study human behavior, and then you can build models that could maybe help you predict the way that a human would behave without knowing anything about what's actually going on inside of any individual's brain.
This is the argument from a lot of the labs is effectively like, we don't necessarily have to understand how they work. We can measure outcomes and have the whole evaluation system. And if it gets the outcomes you're looking for at a level of consistency, you don't need to understand the fundamentals.
Reminds me of statistical mechanics, where it's like, in this room right now, there's like some insane number of atoms that are actually like flying around. And some of them are probably moving at like 400 miles per hour, and some of them aren't moving much at all. But on average, they have 70 degrees of energy. And ultimately, all I need to know is not what each individual one is doing, but just that on average, they're about 70, so I know that I can have a t-shirt or whatever, and that's good enough. And I never actually need to develop that, niche understanding of the system.
100%. This is just like the hypersonics episode we just did, where the modeling does not need to be totally accurate to real world physics. You can have a sort of a close enough derivative version, and it's sufficient for supersonic travel. But when you get into hypersonic, we didn't know, but then we figured out,
and then you can just like stitch it together.
And it works. And so it's a good point that you don't actually need to have 4K full fidelity of the underlying individual parts if you can kind of understand the system as a whole and track the outcomes you're looking for.